So, good morning, Oorsee family. I'm joined today by Derick Breydenbach. He is currently in China, and I'm going to let him do his own introduction. Derick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Okay, so you've been a teacher in China for how long?
Approximately 4 years. I've been in China since end of 2018, and still very happy to be here. And of course, before that, I've been in the UAE for 3 years, since 2015, and still going strong.
So, all of that time, you were a teacher. You taught in the UAE, right? And now you're teaching in China.
Correct. When I was in the UAE, I was a PE teacher. I was more involved with sports and coaching and training. And when I decided to move to China, I came as an English teacher. But I also do part-time PE teaching and coaching.
Okay, so is that something that you did in South Africa as well before?
Yes. In South Africa, I was a teacher for about 9 years before I decided to go abroad. And I taught various subjects. But for the last couple of years, before I left South Africa, I specialized in physical education.
Okay, so this is a hell of a journey you've been on, right? How do you decide one day in South Africa, you know what, I'm going to go to the UAE? Well, let's talk about the town or the city. Where did you go and work? Because that's easier than calling it the UAE all the time. Were you in Dubai or Jebel Ali or Sharjah?
I went to Abu Dhabi, and from there I went to Al Ain, which is part of Abu Dhabi, but more away from the city life. It's a city on its own in the middle of the desert. And then, of course, from there, the school or the schools where I used to teach, they are quite remote. So they picked us up with the school bus in the morning. We had to get up very early and drove us all the way for 1.5 hours into the desert while it's still dark. And we arrived just before 7 o'clock in the morning with sunrise. And all you see along the way, you just see many, many sand dunes and camels all the way. That's all you see. So it's very different from what we used to back in South Africa. But it's a very unique experience, being in the Middle East and Arab countries, and experience a very different culture in its own. But it's a lot of fun as well.
So I was in Dubai just a couple of weeks ago, and actually spoke to a few teachers there, new arrivals. So they didn't really even know the system yet. They've been there like 3 weeks. We were watching Ireland play South Africa in the World Cup at this sporting kind of ground in Sharjah. And they were really keen and looking forward to the experience that's lying ahead. What advice can you give to like people just arriving in Dubai about the culture, about how the children might be different, teaching versus South Africa?
It's very different for different people. It depends on your mindset. What is your purpose of going abroad? How long do you plan on staying there? Is it about saving money? Is it about financial decisions? Is it about travel? Is it about just seeing a different kind of environment? So people have many different experiences. For some people, it's awesome. They really enjoy it. They really love it. And they decide to stay for as long as possible. Where other people, they miss their families, and they miss their food, and they miss a lot of things about South Africa, and they don't stay long and they return back. So some people find a very big culture shock when they get there, because it's very, very different. But Dubai is more westernized now. It's more open for foreigners, and you meet people from all abroad, from all over the world, and it's really, really nice. The big city life, if you like the city life, the nightlife, the beaches, you got everything there. So you can compare it to some of the best places all over the world. Where if you go to the more remote areas, into the desert, it's completely the opposite, because the cities are much smaller. There are a lot of villages. The people are different. They don't speak English in these remote areas, and all you see is sand dunes. Um, Abu Dhabi is an older city. It's the oldest city, the main capital city of the UAE. But also, a lot of people from abroad, very unique experience. They got everything to offer right there. Ferrari World and some of the best stuff in the world. And it's just an hour and just over an hour's drive from Dubai. And then you get all these other Emirates, a little bit smaller, cultures a little bit different. But it depends from person to person if you're going to make it there or not. I can just mention teaching there is not very easy. Um, when you go, when you make the decision to travel abroad, you have to keep an open mindset because the children are very much different and the culture is different. There are a lot of things you cannot do, and you have to keep a lot of things in mind, prepare yourself mentally. But usually, when the agents or whoever recruits you to go abroad, they will prepare you and give you a list of things that you need to take into consideration um, before you make that decision. So you know more about the culture, you know more about the children, you know how they are, how the teaching styles, everything is different. But you need to prepare yourself mentally because you go there with a certain expectation, and once you arrive, it's totally different.
So let's just quickly touch on that. You mentioned an agent. So if I'm in South Africa and I want to go and teach in Dubai or China, and we'll get to China in a minute. Uh, do you contact an agent? Do you reach out to the school themselves? Can you just how do you get the visa? How long is the visa for? How does that process work? If you can just quickly walk us through that, please.
I was lucky. I was checking online. I didn't know where to start. As a beginner, I had no idea. I spoke to a couple of people when I had this idea in my mind of going abroad, because I heard some people that knew other people that went abroad, and they were very, very happy. They managed to save a lot of money. They managed to buy houses back home in South Africa and nice cars, and also the travel, because I've always wanted to travel abroad and see the rest of the world and have that kind of experience. Um, so I didn't really know where to start, but I started looking online and searching for teaching abroad, and I found a company, Teach Anywhere. And the lady there, I will never forget, her name is Sharon. She took me through the whole process, exactly everything, what they need, how it needs to be done. I didn't know about the paperwork, everything I had to prepare, but they set up the appointments for the interviews and everything. I first had an interview with her where she asked me a lot of questions about myself, my teaching, my school, my experience, my qualifications. And then I had a second interview where I had to prepare for uh, uh, another interview. And one of the questions they asked me was to take them through a lesson plan. They will always ask you in an interview about a lesson plan. And that time I was preparing for a PE teacher. I was teaching PE at the moment at that time. So I took them through the lesson, and they were very, very impressed. And that took me to the next step, and I had to get all my paperwork ready. So they sent you a list with all the requirements. And one of them is you need to have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't have to be necessarily a teaching degree, but a bachelor's degree is the minimum requirements, plus a PGCE, postgraduate certificate in education. And also, we'll get to China, but when you get to China, you need a TEFL certificate as well.
Okay.
So I had to go to the Chinese embassy with the documents they sent to me, and take passport photos and get a new passport. And once you get there, you submit your documentation. It depends how busy it is. Sometimes there are a lot of people, you sit there for hours. But once the documentation is done and sent to Durko, it goes through the whole process. You have to go from one department to another department, different buildings, different places between Johannesburg and Pretoria. But it takes a couple of days at the embassy to apply. And you have to get all your degrees and certificates. All your paperwork needs to be certified. So you have to go to Pretoria. You need to do translations. You need to get stamps. You need to get approvals. And then everything needs to go to Durko. And then you have to wait there. Once you get all your stuff back, You send it to the agent, and they submit it to the school, and then you just wait for them for your for all the proceedings when they set up the second interview directly with the school. So I had to go with a lot of other teachers. We had to meet at one of the hotels in Sandton. We had an interview there. You go in one by one in a conference room, and it's an online interview on a big screen or on the computer with earphones, and you speak to the people on that side directly. They ask you a lot of questions, take you through another interview, and if you are successful, within 2 or 3 days, you will hear from them. And then they arrange your flights and everything and give you the date when you need to fly. And once you've got all that done, they put you on the plane and you leave the country and leave your family and everybody behind.
That was the toughest thing, I guess, for all of us expats, that moment. But tell me, how long did the process take from I decided I'm going to be a teacher in Dubai to I'm actually in Dubai or Abu Dhabi?
If I think back when I started, it feels never ending because you go back and forth, back and forth. It's a lot of traveling up and down to get your paperwork from one place to another. And the problem is some of the places they close early, so you have limited time. You have to get up very early, get through the traffic to get to Joburg or to get to Pretoria and go back again. It's very nerve-wracking the first time when you have to go through this and you're not really sure where to go and what to do. And wherever you go, you have to ask people, can you please help me? Where do I need to go from here? Where do I need to go from there? But there are a lot of expats, a lot of people doing the same thing. So everybody support each other, and some people have been through the process a few times, so they know where to go and what to do. But yeah, that's the most stressful part, is the beginning. But before you open your eyes, it happens very, very quick. Within a couple of weeks, I would say, if you have to start the whole process, about 3 months, getting your passport ready, applying for a job, getting the interviews, the whole process from beginning to end, maximum about 3 months before you get onto that plane and leave the country.
That's really not too bad. I mean, there's a lot of other jobs, and when we immigrated to the US, you're talking 18 months, to 2 years for the process. So 3 months really isn't that bad. So now let's, if you don't mind, let's talk about China. So you moved from Dubai to China, and you ended up in Nanning. And,
that's correct.
I've been to China a few times. Dubai and the traffic can be busy, but China is next level, right? And Nanning has to be the biggest city nobody's ever heard of, right?
Yeah, it's strange that a lot of people do not know where Nanning is or what. They never heard about it. And to be honest, I also didn't know about Nanning until I got the job there. When my contract ended in the UAE, I took a break and I went back to South Africa. And I didn't have internet at home, so I decided I want to just try China because everybody's talking about it, and I maybe just take a year break and go there and experience it before I decide to go back to the UAE or wherever my journey takes me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I was sitting in a coffee shop browsing and looking at jobs and doing interviews from a coffee shop because they had internet. And unfortunately, I had a lot of noise in the background, but the people understood when I explained to them my situation. And when I heard about Nanning, I had no idea where this place was. But my first school was on Facebook. I found a job offer on Facebook, and the lady did the same. I got all my documents ready, and within a few months I left. I flew to Shandong province, which is in the north, and I had no clue about the culture or anything about China until I got there. Got the shock of my life. Nobody speaks English. Nobody understands what I'm trying to say. I couldn't communicate because we only use WeChat in China. And if you don't have WeChat, you're lost. You cannot do anything. So that was one of the most difficult things for me to adjust, is the communication and finding my way around, because I flew to Beijing, which is the capital of China. And from there, I had to take a train to a couple of other cities where people were supposed to meet me. And I had to go to various places where people were supposed to pick me up to eventually get me 13 and a half hours later to the city where I'm supposed to be in the middle of nowhere. They have different kinds of cities, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. And I didn't know the difference until a couple of months later. So your bigger cities are the tier 1 cities, and the smaller ones are the tier 3 cities where there are less expats, there are less things to do. It's in the middle of nowhere. Many people end up in those cities for the first time teaching just to get the experience, and then they go for bigger cities after that when they complete their contracts. In the UAE, we had 3-year contracts, and in China, the contracts usually they run from year to year, depending on what you negotiate with your school. But the north and the south of China is totally different. It's like another world. People are very different. The culture is very different. They speak different languages, same as we have in South Africa with our 11 official languages. They have multiple languages in China. It's not only Chinese, but they have very many different kinds of Chinese dialects and Cantonese and different languages because of the tribes all around China. But I stuck it out for a couple of months in the north, and I didn't like it that much, although it was a good experience. And it's freezing cold in winter. And I was lucky
But how
to
far
end up
north were you? I mean, close to Mongolia north, or
it was
still
not
closer
that
to
far.
Beijing?
It was 13 and a half hours from Beijing, but it's up north, very close to South Korea and Japan. It's on that side, the northeastern side of China, right
Okay,
next to the
that's
US.
where you get the train across to North Korea. That if you want to go
Yeah.
visit. Okay,
Yes, so,
very
but
cold
yeah,
in the winter.
yeah, very cold, snowing all the time, and your clothes don't dry, and it's not very pleasant if you cannot go out and do stuff. Nanning is more tropical. It's in the south of China. When I found out about the location, and I checked on the map, and I saw all the places around where you could travel, and things that I've seen on different channels and on Facebook, that was perfect. The location's perfect. It's tropical. It's right next to Vietnam in the south, and it's near the Hainan Island, Sanya, where I am right now. And they had high-speed trains. So to travel and to go anywhere, it's very, very easy compared to where I've been in the small city where they don't really have anything.
But I mean,
Nanning
Nanning has got how many people? Like millions, like 10, 15 million people. How many people live in that city?
Yeah, it might even be more. I think it might be between 15 to 24 million people. It's possible.
So
It's a
much
big
bigger
city.
than London and New York, for instance, and nobody's heard of it.
Yeah, that's also true. But even the people that work with me here in Sanya, they don't know about Nanning. They know Nanjing, which is close to Shanghai, but Nanning they never heard of. They don't even know about the Guangxi province, which is an hour's flight from here. From Sanya to Nanning is less than an hour. It's like flying from Joburg to Durban. It's really not that far. You just have to cross from the island to the mainland and get to the city.
So when you got to the city, how did you find the children, teaching the children in China compared to Dubai? Did you manage better? And now you were teaching English, right, as a foreign language. That's the
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
TEFL certificate.
That's right. It's very different. Thinking back about the UAE, it was really, really difficult to teach those students. The mindset is completely different. Although the Education Bureau focus a lot on education, it's different with the students. They have their own mindset, and because most of the kids, they are very rich, they come from rich families, the last thing on their mind is education. So they are not focused on studying or becoming something, because they already have money, they already have everything. They have camel farms, they raise camels on weekends, they win millions of dirhams, and they travel abroad. Some students in the middle school, for instance, they disappear for 3 months, and then when they come back, I heard, oh no, my camel, their camels won in the race, or they came third. They won 3 million dirhams and decided to travel to the USA for a couple of months. That's how it was. In China, I started with middle school, and then when I moved to Nanning, I went to a training school, a language school, and I had more younger students. The youngest students I had was from 2 years to 4 years. And I'm currently also teaching very young students. And I thought it was going to be impossible at first, because it's a big jump from middle school and primary school to all of a sudden go down to kindergarten. But I found the technique that works to engage the students and to get them to understand me. And I've really been enjoying it for a long time. And the students, they are very well behaved, also very different. But it takes about 21 days to teach them to get into a certain habit. But once they understand, they follow you, they understand you, and it's easy to work with them. And it's really a joy. I really do like it.
I mean, you're in great physical shape, obviously, so you must get a lot of comparisons with kindergarten cop. Big guy, getting all the kids in line with a whistle.
Yes,
but I mean,
yes,
is
yes.
it really that of a cliche? How do you communicate with them when they don't even speak English?
It's very similar. It's very similar, because the first time the kids don't understand anything. They can hardly speak Chinese. So to try and speak English for the first time and meet foreigners for the first time, it's a shock for them. So from PK, pre-kindergarten, the kids are very small. They cry for months. I had a student there that didn't stop crying for 3 months, non-stop, every single day.
Oh.
And you just get used to it. The first time is the most difficult, but once you have experience, it becomes so much easier, because you know what kind of strategies to use to engage with the students and to get their attention and to let them forget about mommy and daddy. And once you got them, they become used to you. And kids that I didn't like that much in the beginning, I love them to bits. You get so attached to them. It's really, really nice.
I can imagine. I wanted to talk just quickly, finally, about the culture, right? Outside of work, how easy is it to make friends, to fit in? I gather you recently got engaged. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, we got engaged a couple of
Congratulations.
weeks.
So certainly you found some way to engage with the locals, but talk me through that, and how do you adjust as a person outside of work?
It's actually very easy. I think it's more difficult maybe in the smaller cities, because there are less expats and less things to do. But with technology, and especially with WeChat, we have a lot of WeChat groups. So if you're going to a certain city, you can just search on WeChat for expats in that area, and people connect all the time. And it's becoming so westernized this side that your bigger cities like Nanning and like Sanya, where we are on the island, there are a lot of foreigners, especially Russians. They come here a lot. Everywhere you go, you find foreigners. And the local places, the restaurants, the pubs, the KTVs, the bars, the nightclubs, you find foreigners everywhere. And people meet each other. They all go into the same WeChat groups. There are groups for all different kind of activities for expats, and that's how people engage. And then, of course, the people we work with, a lot of us are friends. We travel together on weekends. I take a lot of people out on trips on weekends, because I love doing that. I love to travel and explore and go on adventure trips and find new places. Even in the UAE, I've done that. So I have my own way of advertising and making my own groups and getting people to join, and they tell their friends and people who like to do stuff that do not know places around. They can join on weekends, and I take them on trips. But a lot of people, they just go to the bars and the KTVs and the nightclubs or to the beach. We have a lot of activities and nice places, coffee shops, everything, where you will find foreigners, and they just get together and chill out and hang out and have a good time. So it's really not difficult. It's really, really not difficult. You find people everywhere, a lot of foreigners around.
But is there anybody that you can, for instance, speak Afrikaans with? Is there any kind of South
Yes,
African culture there?
yes.
Do you still watch the rugby? I mean, I'm still wearing my bloody hat from last
Yeah,
night. I
yeah,
refuse
yeah.
to take it off because I nearly had a heart attack again.
I'm very disappointed that I missed the game last night, but because of the time difference and everything, and we traveling, we don't always have those facilities wherever we go. But I was just following on Facebook about the game, and I kept checking, and it's amazing. But yeah, some of the guys, they can stream, and they have the apps that they can use to watch rugby and those kind of things. And the people here, they're more into football, so most people don't know about rugby. Although we do have rugby clubs around, we do have even Chinese people. We have rugby clubs where they play and compete, especially in Shanghai and in Nanning. But you can find that anywhere. So I keep up to date with everything. And we do have a lot of South Africans. We do speak Afrikaans. I've got friends here from Pretoria and from Cape Town and from everywhere. So it's nice to have other South Africans around. Because at our school, we have the kindergarten, we have the international school, and then we've got the primary school, the middle school, and the high school on the same school grounds, right next to the mountain. And yeah, besides our school, there are other South Africans around in Sanya, and everywhere I go, I meet them.
So, I mean, last thing, advice to anybody sitting in South Africa thinking, you know, I'm curious. What would you say to them? Do you think, would your advice be, yes, go for it, it's worth it, or make sure you're the right type of person, or, you know, just come over, or go to China, go to Dubai? What would your advice be for anybody who's interested in teaching abroad?
Personally, for myself, I would say if you're a risk taker, take the risk. It's worth it, 100%. If you don't like it, you can always go back. But it's a unique experience, and it becomes like a drug. It's something you get so addicted to, and when you finally realize you can travel, you can do things that you could not do in South Africa. Life is different in so many ways, but so much better. Just take that risk and go for it. If you don't like it, you can finish your contract, you can go back home, you can try different things, you can try different countries, but just do it. I was skeptical in the beginning, but a lot of people motivated me, and they encouraged me and say, you've got nothing to lose, just do it. And looking back, I will never look back. I'm very happy where I am at the moment, living on an island, living my dream, having the lifestyle I always dreamt of, doing what I always wanted to do. It's amazing. You just have to do it. You have to try.
Well, that's incredible. I mean, for full disclosure, I want to tell people, and nobody will believe this watching the video, but you and I went to the same high school. I'm not going to say many years ago, right? But
I told my
years
fiance
ago,
that, yes, I told my fiance we come a long way from school, from university, staying in the same hostel,
yeah,
studying on
that was a long
campus.
time. So all your travels anywhere in the world, I'm going to finish on that. Have you ever found a better school than Huguenot School in Springs?
You cannot compare. You cannot compare.
Yeah, that was a very long time ago. I hope to see you at the reunion. Is it next year? We have another reunion. I'll see you there. But thank you so much for your time. I'm sure the guys from Oorsee are going to love watching this, and we'll get a lot of teachers to go and work in China.
Anytime. If you need any more information, more than welcome to contact me.